The hell's going on out there, man?
Nobody knows. I was thinking. I was thinking about it earlier today. To when we were kids in the 2008 collapse, it really did shape me. I
Yeah.
always, from that point forward, I never trusted that there were experts or there were people that knew what the fuck they were talking about because everyone acted so confident, and then the whole thing just blew up. And for a lot of people, that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's just their first rodeo. Oh, you youngins out there. No, I agree. Yeah, it was because 2008, right? That's 7 years after 9/11, in the midst of the wars over in the Middle East. I was 17 at that point. And yeah, up to that point, you had like a sense that, like, all right, it seems like these people have somewhat control. You're beginning to. I don't think like Snowden or WikiLeaks were really popular for like another year or two after that.
Snowden was 2013.
Yeah, and WikiLeaks wasn't around like when we were in high school. I don't think, or at least wasn't as popular as it became. But no, it was very formative. I mean, I've told this story on this podcast many times, but when the financial system was melting down, I just so happened to be taking an elective economics class my senior year in high school, and our teacher was like really into it. I'm pretty sure it was like a hardcore libertarian, and it was like his bread and butter. It was like, yeah, this is everything I'm focused on. Gentlemen, I went to an all boys school, went through TARP, seeing Hank Paulson and Tim Geithner like begging the government to do stuff. It was just really unsettling. And then you fast forward 14 years. It's crazy. It's actually like it seems to always happen like this time of year, like September, October, and we've got.
Yeah, it happened. What, like 2008 was like it really blew up. Was the first week of September, I think.
Yeah, dragged throughout September, like early October. There was another spasm, but now this time around, I mean, heavy list. Let's start with macro because it's probably what's on top of everybody's mind right now. You got a lot of Bitcoin content too, but this time around, 14 years later, not only do we have this energy and economic crisis, but the war drums are beating louder. I mean, what would you say compared to like post 9/11 Iraq war, Afghanistan invasion situation? Is this reaching that level in your mind?
What, war with Russia?
Or just like what's going on right now? I mean, dude, did you see the news yesterday? Like Turkey's talking about invading Greece, like some of the Greek islands.
Well, they've always had shit.
Yeah.
I, I
Well, this pipeline. Well, we're talking about the pipeline. The pipeline. Let's
it's a
start with.
weird comparison. It's just a weird comparison. I mean, I our perspective because we were young, very young for September 11th is obviously different than people that were older for September 11th. But September 11th, I felt like it was very, very rah rah. Let's strike back. I felt like there was, at least in the beginning, there was very minority opposition.
Yeah. No, I remember
And
being.
I do not feel like that way in America right now.
Do you remember Freedom Fries?
Strong isolationist tendencies in America right now.
Yes, I agree with that. Um, yeah, but I was thinking more generally, like just conflict in the world, like right now.
It feels more than then in that regard.
Yeah.
Like it feels like everything, like there's no strong foundation anywhere. Like anything could happen at any time, at anywhere.
Trust is being broken in real time, freaks. This is trust is not what it was only a few years ago, pre-COVID. So yeah, let's talk about it. The pipelines. Pull up, or how do you want to start this? Because I tried to have some pre RHR pipeline talk. Matt was like, "No, we're saving it for the show." So I'm coming in blind
Well,
from Matt's perspective.
so some context, right? There's a bunch of pipelines that bring gas from Russia to Europe. Two of those pipelines are the Nordstream pipelines that go directly from Russia to Germany underwater. And those pipelines appear to have been blown up this week.
Appears to that they have. I mean,
well, they definitely.
So
ruptured.
here's the
ruptured, and the strong belief is that they blew up based on seismic.
The Swedish seismic center. I don't know what it's called. We're just going to call it that right now. They came out and said it wasn't an earthquake. Something making this big of a seismic shock had to have been some type of explosion.
Correct.
Logan, pull up the Anas Al-Haji tweet. I don't know if I put that in Slack. Did I put that in Slack? I didn't put that in Slack. Put that in the show notes. I'll find it though. So Anas Al-Haji, he's been on TFTC a few times. He's an oil and gas expert. He tweeted 5 hours ago there was a fourth leak detected. It's in Slack now, Logan. So there are 2 leaks on the Swedish side and 2 leaks on the Danish side. A spokesperson from the Swedish Coast Guard said about 5 hours ago. So this pipeline, Nordstream, I think it was Nordstream 1 and 2, were both affected by this. They're running parallel with each other across the Baltic. When did this happen? Tuesday morning or Monday morning?
I think Monday.
I think it might have been Monday. Yeah, so we're sitting here on Thursday. Fourth leak was just detected. So these pipelines, which Nord Stream 2 at least was shut off. It wasn't delivering any gas. Nord Stream 1 was flowing a very small amount of gas, and there was...
They run right next to each other.
Yes, and there was speculation that Russia was just going to turn the spigot off and not flow any gas there too, but now there's no option to send gas through either of these pipelines across the Baltic to Europe. And the question, obviously, that everybody wants answered is who did this? And in my mind, there's 3 or 4 options. You have Russia, you have the United States, maybe Ukraine, and then there have been like climate hysteric advocacy groups that have talked about bombing pipelines like recently in like recent months. So you have to add them to the list as well.
It was definitely not climate hysterics.
No, they don't have the capabilities to do this.
Yeah. But for that reason alone,
they have voiced intent.
The obvious conclusion is, to me, it was the motive. The motive was clear. The motive was do not let Germany and Western Europe make a peace deal with Russia. So whoever could benefit from that has a strong motive to do this, and there are a lot of entities that would benefit from that. Not only nation states, but also corporate entities. It's supposedly, I am not a fucking pipeline expert, but supposedly it was in a very shallow, diveable area. So like someone like scuba diving equipment, like you don't need like advanced drones or something to bomb this shit.
No, but I agree with the motive, and who was most likely behind it probably had the motive that you described, which is, I mean, that's been one of the theories, is that we're going to get deep into winter here. The energy crisis in Germany and Western Europe is going to be insane, and they're going to call uncle, go to Putin hat in hand and say, hey, we need your gas. Like, let's figure something out. Now that option is off the table.
And specifically, there are other pipelines. That's just the only pipeline where they don't need Eastern Europe's permission to go through.
Yes.
And so if Western Europe, that's why I phrased it the way I did, because if Western Europe wanted to make a deal, like that pipeline is the key to that deal without getting Eastern Europe to agree to it.
Yes. So here's some other, just other context clues. Another tweet I just put in Slack, Logan. there did seem to be U.S. warships in the area a few days before, and apparently a couple of the warships were equipped with military equipment that would be able to facilitate some of this. Again, not saying that it was the U.S. that did it.
Yeah, I mean the counterpoint is that's an extremely strategic area right now.
Yes.
Like
But
the mouth.
yeah, but then we had your semi-viral tweet, which resurfaced some comments from President Biden in February of this year.
Let me answer the first question first. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
It's a bit ominous.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. And he's not the only one who made comments like that. A month before Biden made these comments, Victoria Nuland, I think she's with the State Department.
Hers are much more measured and political.
Yeah, she had very similar comments a month before, and if you've been following along with the Ukraine story since 2014, I don't know if it was WikiLeaks, but there was a leak that included some audio from Victoria Nuland where she was trying to manipulate elections over there around 2014 or 2016, around that time. So she's been involved in this part of the world for many years. And then another aspect too, there was a pipeline that opened up the day that Nord Stream 1 and 2 were bombed as well, coming from Norway, coming from the north. So that was an odd coincidence as well. Where, hey, we bombed these two pipelines, now you can flow gas from this one. So
from a NATO ally.
Yes. Yeah, what do you think the implications of this are? I mean, there hasn't really.
The implications are the obvious implications are that like Western Europe is way less likely to come to a peace agreement with Russia in the near term, which means energy prices are going to get absolutely ridiculous. They probably already were going to, but they're going to get absolutely ridiculous in Europe. I don't think we see any like direct military conflict because of this.
Yeah, it has been odd. Russia hasn't really responded. Have you heard anything from? Silence is deafening over there. Yeah, it's an escalation. I think
I saw something briefly about them filing an insurance claim.
Can you file insurance claims if your country's sanctioned?
About to find out.
Do you think? Yeah, I think we can both agree that this is a terrible thing to have happened.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see energy infrastructure get destroyed in the middle of an energy crisis. Nobody wants to see that.
No. Well, yeah.
But I mean, this is a perfect. I mean, a lot of people have theorized in the current state of the world dynamics, like the current power structure of the world with mutually assured destruction on the nuclear side, that we would see more warfare go towards soft infrastructure targets that are hard to blame on somebody. You know, a lot of that focus has been on power plants in the United States being insecure, our power grids being connected to the internet and not secure. So I think this is kind of a tease of what's to come, which is all of our infrastructure is going to be tested for an adversarial environment, and most of it is not prepared for it. And when I say our, I mean global infrastructure. I don't just mean American infrastructure.
Exactly. So Aliyah Yakta asked, the die have been cast. And so now with the Nordstream pipelines being bombed, it seems like in the game of warfare right now, energy infrastructure is fair game. And so that's the question moving forward is what are the reactions? And I had Logan pull up a tweet here from Wall Street Silver, the reports of a gas pipeline to Crimea in the Kherson region that has been destroyed and is burning. I guess gas pipelines are now considered fair game targets.
Is that from Russia to Crimea, or?
Let's see where Kherson is. Yes, I believe so.
Or was that the Russians responding?
Kherson's in Ukraine. It's in southern Ukraine, so
I guess the Russians wouldn't hit a pipeline to Crimea. They control Crimea.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's rumblings that Putin's going to come out at some point today or tomorrow and give a speech about welcoming some Ukrainian states into the Russian Federation. So yeah, things are popping.
I mean, did you see the reports of their referendum in eastern Ukraine? They had like Russian troops going door to door with taking people's votes for the referendum. Armed guards being like, "Oh, okay, fill this out. Do you want to be a part of Russia or do you want to be a part of Ukraine?"
Sure was a smashing success of a referendum for Russia.
Really great voter turnout.
Ah, fuck, man. This shit's heavy.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse. I have, I don't know if you saw me point to this.
I noticed.
My lady surprised me with a first edition Mandibles. First edition, baby.
That's a beautiful hardcover right there.
My new favorite shitcoin. First edition Mandibles. Drink. Literally, I mean, Mandibles didn't have Bitcoin in it. She thought Bitcoin was going to fail, but we're just, Mandibles is spoilers for what we're living through right now. So I know how it ends.
Yeah, maybe we can use this as a transition. Like Bitcoin obviously has not failed; it's still here. I think it's going to be playing a very important role moving forward. Who knows if what happened in financial markets this week was a direct effect of this? Actually, it probably wasn't, because we had turmoil throughout the world in financial markets, starting in Japan last week, right around when we wrapped up recording. The Bank of Japan decided to intervene in yen markets. The yen was sliding precipitously against the US dollar. So the Bank of Japan decided, all right, we're going to step in and begin buying yen to drive that price up against the dollar. And that led to speculation that the Bank of Japan was dumping long-dated U.S. treasuries to acquire the dollars to buy the yen to drive the price up. It's not confirmed. We won't find that out probably until there's some financial disclosures at the end of the year or at some point in the future, but people are speculating that is exactly what they did do, because if you line up the time in which they decided to intervene in those markets and you looked at the 10-year and 30-year U.S. Treasury charts, they went sort of haywire. Yields started pumping Friday around the same time that Japan intervened in their currencies. So there's speculation that Japan, which is the largest holder of U.S. Treasuries in the world, dumping their treasuries to get dollars to drive up the yen, which is not a good thing. That does not bode well for confidence in U.S. treasuries and treasury markets. And if Japan, being the largest holder of treasuries, felt comfortable doing that, that sort of creates like a Mexican standoff situation where they shot first, and any other country that has currency issues may see that option on the table too, which could put the Fed and the Treasury in a very precarious situation and force them to intervene.
Isn't that exactly what the treasuries are supposed to be, like why they have them in the first place?
What do you mean?
Like, isn't that why Japan's holding them in the first place, is to use it as like a Luna style backprop or whatever?
I guess it's like a nuclear option if you need to intervene. I think the intention that they have them.
Fucked.
Yeah.
Like that's why they own them, right?
Yeah. Very liquid, very dependable. That's the thing. It's like a catch-22. As soon as you start dumping them, they don't become as dependable as you thought they were, or as they have been historically.
Yeah, I mean, for us nerds, it's like a nation state version of what happened with Luna, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that happened. And Friday afternoon, the Great British Pound started not being so great and falling. It fell at some point to 1.03 pound per dollar.
Like Bitcoin.
Yeah, which is the
like
low.
Down 10% in like a couple hours, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it reached the lowest, the GBP USD pair reached its lowest point ever in recorded history at some point.
I love all the memes that are saying now it's called soccer because
yes,
it's like I think it should be called football. I don't really like that we call it soccer, but it's a fucking hilarious meme.
It's soccer now, European and British freaks. Sunday night, those markets began to spasm even worse, and then that continued into this week. Not only did the pound fall, but the long-dated gilts, which are equivalent to the long-dated treasuries here in the United States, those yields started going crazy, approaching 4%, and they triggered the circuit breakers. They had to stop trading GBP at one point, and then the Bank of England had to step in yesterday morning in the British Treasury markets, the gilt markets, to stop the bleeding, because there was rumors. I believe BlackRock came out and a couple other large asset managers came out and said a bunch of the British pension funds were about to go bust because they're all going to get margin called on the bond exposure.
I put an FT article about BlackRock in the list. They froze a bunch of pension fund, or they were about to freeze a bunch of pension funds' assets during all the chaos to protect their own balance sheet. So it's a perfect example of counterparty risk really fucking you in chaos, and how Bitcoin is unique in that regard, that you don't have to trust anybody to use it, and you don't have to ask their permission to send it.
Yeah, I mean, but is this like the great financial meltdown that many people have been calling for well over a decade now?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been wrong so many times.
Same.
But it feels like this time is different. I'm going to say that partially as a jest to myself because I know that meme. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to our conversation earlier that I feel like growing up into the 2008 collapse really shaped my worldview, and I've been macro bear biased for a long time. House of cards, ready to implode at any moment, and forget that I read the Mandibles. Then I was really, really poised on that. But if it really does feel like that, it feels like this is the moment where everything starts to really break apart. And I want to be clear here. Definitely not wishing for that, but that's just how I see it. And during times of chaos, there's also lots of opportunity. So, in the Mandibles, they had, I'm just going to keep going back to the Mandibles this week. In the Mandibles, there was like a lesson in there. There was so much noise and there was so much shit going on that average people started to zone it out for their own mental health, and they weren't paying attention. And in the Mandibles, the lesson is the people that weren't paying attention got even more fucked than everybody else. But of course, in the Mandibles, they didn't have Bitcoin. You couldn't just stay humble and stack sats. That wasn't an option. So I do think we're already kind of, but after 2020, we're already kind of at the point where like a shit ton of people are just completely disenfranchised. They're just not paying attention to anything. They just expect someone 3,000 miles away to say something that they don't really understand and it's going to affect their life and whatever. They're just going to go day by day and live their life. And I mean, that can get extremely dangerous because, a few weeks here, a few months here can be make or break for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the scary. I mean, going back to the Bank of England having to intervene to save the gilt markets, to save the pensions. That's the scary thing here. Because I think about like my parents, my in-laws, like my mother-in-law is just about to retire. I'm thinking about like her retirement fund towards the end of your career when you're about to approach retirement. A lot of what money managers will recommend is that you shift your retirement funds heavier into bonds because they're considered less risky. And we have this situation right now where bond yields are going insane, which means the price of bonds are dumping. They have an inverse correlation with each other. And so, yeah, I mean, like, yes, the British pensions didn't get completely wiped out, but you have to imagine over there and even over here in the U.S. as we have the 10-year and 30-year, the 30-year approaching 4% pretty rapidly, that a lot of people who are approaching retirement are getting just blown out right now.
Yeah. It is tragic. It's going to be even more tragic. I am not wishing for any of this shit. To go back to what Marty was saying about all these major currencies just absolutely getting wrecked by the dollar. We've talked about it in the past, like this dollar milkshake theory. And it seems to be what is playing out. That these other economies, these weaker currencies, are failing first against the dollar as people.
Well, that's the interesting thing here. You have the yen and the British pound, which are considered by many people like quasi blue chip currencies. Like, that was surprising to me, was that I thought we were going to, I mean, obviously we've seen Turkey, Lebanon. I thought we'd see a blow up somewhere else in like LATAM.
But we've been seeing those blow ups already.
Yeah.
We're kind of desensitized to those. And then I'm going to bring back Mandibles again. The only major currency that's not facing it is the ruble. And the ruble, Putin has made a massive shift to, it's technically not a commodity-backed currency, but it has a lot of features of a commodity-backed currency because they're forcing people to buy their energy in rubles now. And in Mandibles, it was the BRIC countries came out with a commodity-backed currency, and then it started to destroy the dollar. But at the end of the day, that requires trust. So after all that plays out, Bitcoin becomes the standard.
Yes. Well,
takes bong rip.
I mean, wrote about it earlier this week. I know we've talked about it behind the scenes. It has been interesting to see Bitcoin's relative stability. It's been a bit volatile this week, popped up above 20K, back down below 19, hovering around like 19.4 right now, I believe. I don't have my dashboard up. 19.4 on the dot almost. We're gonna cause a market dump here, but is this a decoupling?
Look, Bitcoin's going to be a risk asset. Like, financial professionals are going to think Bitcoin's a risk asset until the day that changes. I think that day is sooner than people truly appreciate. I think Bitcoin's the ultimate safe haven. I think Bitcoin doesn't have the counterparty risk that every other asset has, including gold, but to a lesser extent gold. And I think that will become more obvious as this chaos unwinds. And I know personally that I'm not trying to time bottoms or tops because I'm definitely not good at that. And Bitcoin was made for this exact situation. Like, to me, Bitcoin was made for this exact situation. maybe we're wrong. Maybe Bitcoin's worthless. Place your bets. I know where my bets are placed, and we'll see how it unfolds. I think a lot of people think that because we love Bitcoin and we focus on Bitcoin and that we talk about Bitcoin all the time, that we're implicitly trying to convince people to buy Bitcoin. Like, I think you should own Bitcoin. You should constantly try and increase the amount of Bitcoin you own for the good of your family. And
you're trying to convince people to buy Bitcoin right now.
But ultimately, that's your own personal decision. Like, we don't need you to buy Bitcoin for us to be right. Like, that's the beauty of the whole thing. The beauty of the whole thing is that it's opt-in.
Agreed. I mean, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin right now because not from the price perspective. Who knows where the price goes? Short, medium. I think long term, we all agree it will go up and to the right. But no, like you said, like this stability. If you're holding your own private keys, you have your money secured. There's a lot of people who are going to be pulling money out for retirement. It's not going to be there. These pension funds are blowing up over in England right now. And to think that pension funds over here are inoculated from that it would be foolish and naive to believe that. Which goes into another thing we have on the list, which was Stan Druckenmiller's comments at the Delivering Alpha conference.
We're 43 minutes in. We have a massive list to get through still. So just hang tight. It's
going to be a good rep. We're making up for the board meeting interruption last week.
The board meeting was extremely productive, and everyone, well, the person who fucked up the calendar apologized.
I'll think about accepting the apology. Okay. I'm happy the board meeting went well. It was good to know.
It's on a very strong foundation, and I'm very bullish going forward. It's going to be a very impactful project.
Okay, good. Now to Stan Druckenmiller. Back to he was on stage with Joe Kernan yesterday.
Our boy Joe.
Talking about a bunch of things, but the main topic was the fiscal state of the United States and all of these social programs that we have and how underfunded they are. And so this 2-minute clip is him basically saying that things are worse than he thought they were about a decade ago.
There was a time you went to college campuses and you talked about an equity and debt. I think in this case it wasn't necessarily Fed-induced, but it was entitlement-induced. Yeah. And it could come, this was 10 years ago, and I think you said sometime between, Nostradamus. You said 2020 and 2035.
Yeah.
So it's is it 2022? Is it happening?
We are in deep trouble. So everything I said at those colleges is worse in terms of the metrics. Except for one thing. And what I miscalculated was I didn't calculate zero rates, I used 4% rates. But the only thing Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton agreed on in 2016 was don't cut Social Security, don't cut entitlements. So nothing was done. Joe Biden has excoriated Rick Scott because he dared mention maybe we shouldn't be increasing senior pays. But if you look at the reversal I just talked about, and you use the CBO estimate, which is rates at 3.8%, which I think, frankly, is pretty optimistic, given all the things we've talked about. By 2027, the interest expense alone on the debt eats all healthcare spending. By 2047, it eats all discretionary spending. So we're now getting into fiscal dominance. By the way, by 49, it eats all Social Security. We're getting to the point now where the interest expense on the debt is so high that it's going to eat up our ability to basically service the next generation. I'm not even sure about the current one.
Okay.
I brought some cyanide if you'd like one.
No, I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking maybe we'll be okay, but
yeah, because we'll be dead.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I brought some cyanide if you want one.
That's how I feel like sometimes at the end of our rabbit hole recaps.
But I mean, the gravity of that one line should not be understated. I mean, you're talking about Stan Druckenmiller is considered one of the most highly respected hedge fund managers over the last 4 decades.
Yeah, one of the greatest investors of all time is saying this.
Yeah. Like, and that's like on the entitlements alone, like the public federal entitlements, Social Security obviously being the biggest elephant in the room. I mean, that's something I think you and I in our early 30s have come to grips with way early in our life. Is like, yeah, we're paying into Social Security. We're never going to see it. It seems like due to the fact that we printed so much debt here in the U.S. and interest rates are rising insanely right now, that the interest payments alone are getting out of reach to keep up with, let alone the principal underlying that debt.
Yeah, I just treat Social Security as another tax. Like there's no way I'm getting any of that shit.
No, but like that comment at the end, like he's not even sure of this generation, the boomers who are retiring right now, will be seeing their Social Security. And again, that's just the federal entitlements. When you think about pensions in the private sector, they're loaded up with a lot of this treasury debt too. Again, the bond play has been a very safe one for many decades, and many investors have gotten complacent and just comfortable depending on that being there into perpetuity. And it seems like we're hitting a point where they're not going to be as reliable as they have been since the 80s.
It's a very sombering interview.
Yeah.
Part of the interview that's not in that clip, by the way, freaks, kind of relevant to us, is Druckenmiller has historically been a Bitcoin bull and a gold bull. There's an interview of him floating around. I forget who did the interview, but from like 5 years ago, from 2 years ago, predicting 5 years into the future. And it feels like very lined up. Obviously, everyone can pick and choose. You can like go back and rabbit hole recaps. I'll either look like a fucking idiot or a savant. But he was bullish on Bitcoin 2 years ago, as recently as 2 years ago. In this interview, Joe, who's a Bitcoiner, brought up Bitcoin, and he says that he doesn't own any Bitcoin right now. So that's his view on the world. He doesn't own any Bitcoin. And so you could take that two ways. You could take it as the greatest investor in the world thinks that Bitcoin's not a good hedge here, or we're front running one of the greatest investors in the world, and I prefer to choose the latter.
I'm going to go with the latter as well. There's too much happening. I mean, to turn it to a more optimistic note, and under the tweet that Logan just had up of that clip with Joe Kernan and Druckenmiller, it's basically like we have the ability, like we gotta have a winner's mindset here. We're going to win, freaks. We have Bitcoin. We have the ability to build out new, completely separate infrastructure, monetary and financial infrastructure. It's being built out. We have a lot of topics to get to on the list that prove that, and we can fix this. We're going to clean up the mess and I'm not trying to generation shame here. There's good boomers out there. There's bad boomers out there. Been an aggregate as a generation.
He's not talking about the good boomers.
In aggregate, as a generation, the boomers have put us in a pretty shitty spot. And I would just posit to any of the boomers out there listening, to any of the boomers in power, particularly in finance and in politics, just get out of our way. Just let us. You fuck things up so bad. Just let us try and fix it without you guys getting in the way. Would you please do that?
You want an optimist? Logan, pull up the tweet I just put in Slack. It's CNBC with Druckenmiller 2 years ago. This is what I was talking about, this interview.
All the way up.
The weak dollar is very good for you. If the scenario that you're describing pans out over the next 3 to 5 years, I mean, in some ways, a weak dollar is very good for U.S. equities. So kind of going back to your optimism or bullishness earlier, does that mean buy U.S. equities, buy gold? Is that kind of the rationale behind buy Bitcoin? What about copper and some of the copper names there? I mean, what would be in the kind of dollar decline basket?
When you look at the extraordinary measures taken by the Fed and the fact that they're monetizing the debt, I think it's a high probability that we get inflation the next 5 or 6 years, starting maybe in a year or two, particularly with the vaccine now. The economy could run very hot. With regard to gold and Bitcoin, you've kind of overstated in your introduction my enthusiasm for Bitcoin. I do own a tiny bit of it, but I own a lot more gold. Gold is a 5,000-year brand as a go-to asset in terms of inflation. And as I just described, I could see why you could have inflation way beyond the market's expectations. Having said that, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but I have warmed up to the fact that Bitcoin could be an asset class that has a lot of attraction to it as a store of value to both millennials and the new West Coast money. And as you know, they've got a lot of it. It's been around for 13 years, and with each passing day, it picks up more of its stabilization of a brand. So I own many, many more times gold than I own Bitcoin. But frankly, if the gold bet works, the Bitcoin bet will probably work better because it's thinner and more liquid and has a lot more beta to it.
A lot more beta.
So he sold since then, but be aware.
He probably took some profits off the table.
And also, I would say that his idea of dollar devaluation is in a 5-year time scale from 2 years ago is still not off. Even though the dollar is pumping right now, this is exactly what a lot of people theorized would happen in a reserve currency collapse type of scenario. First, it sucks the air out of the room. Then everyone realizes that we're cornered and there's nothing we can really do about it. Backed in a corner, inflation runs hot, and then the dollar blows up.
Yeah. I mean, and so we could see this happen rather quickly. So like going back to the Bank of England's intervention, they announced yesterday that they're going to embark in QE. They told everybody it's going to be temporary. They're only going to intervene as much as they need to and no more. But the question is how much do you need to intervene? How much liquidity needs to be injected into your gilt markets to prop it up so that your pension funds don't blow up? And so that starts the trend that we've been talking about since April, when we had the first negative GDP print here in the United States. We posited, and inflation was starting to ramp up even more at that time earlier this year. And that's when we began to posit, like, all right, later this year, if GDP is going negative, things are getting crazy, and inflation's still high, and we were talking in the context of the Fed, but if inflation's still high and the economic situation's so bad that they had to print, and they're printing into a high inflationary environment, that's just going to throw gas on the inflation fire. Well, that's exactly what's happening in England right now. They're intervening and embarking in QE over there, and they just had a 10% inflation print last month. And if you've talked to anybody in the UK, which I have over the last couple of weeks, the electricity prices are getting absolutely insane over there. So they're going to probably see increased inflation moving forward, and now their central bank is injecting a bunch of liquidity into the market as well, which is going to exacerbate that fire. With yields hitting levels that they are here in the United States, it's not hard to see the Fed being forced into a similar situation in the months ahead. And so, and I think it just got confirmed that Q2 GDP was certainly negative as well. So we are technically in a recession, no matter how much the Biden administration or the academic economists would like to try to redefine what a recession is. We're in a recession, inflation's high, and central banks are being forced to print in an inflationary environment.
And with inflation running, like you can't, like you can't like we probably won't see rates go down sizably, even in easing or printing situation. Because if inflation's running hot and it's out of control, then a bank's not going to lend you money that's going to be worthless in 10 years without an extremely high rate.
No. I'm calling it. This is it. This is the big one, freaks.
The peak clown world?
Not maybe, who knows? Maybe we're transitioning from clown world to Mad Max world, but it is. I'm calling. This is
it's good that we're laughing about it.
This is the financial meltdown that I had my wife crying about at brunches a decade ago.
This is what I was talking about. Like, did you bring cyanide with you? Like, I feel like
no, because I have hope.
To have like the I mean, we have Bitcoin.
Yes.
Chaos brings a lot of opportunity. For some people, you have to just seize it.
Yeah. Imagine. I would like to be able to somehow.
I like Jevy's advice: get more chest freezers and fill them with meat.
Yes.
Marty asked Jevy on air how many chest freezers he had, and he didn't disclose it for OPSEC reasons.
Very good OPSEC, Jevy. I would say I would love to just be able to warp into Jerome Powell's brain right now. He's got to be.
We have Kita in the comments. Please, Marty, please don't call peak.
I mean, it's hard not to see it. I mean, it's already out of control. I mean, I wrote a newsletter earlier this week. Like, the camel is in the vet with a broken back. The camel's back has been broken. And obviously we've been talking about the financial system in the West right now. But again, going back to what we started the episode on with the war heating up and energy infrastructure being fair game now, like that's only going to exacerbate the inflation problem if retaliation escalates from here. God damn. All right. I feel like we need to get the Bitcoin stuff just today.
We have this is just a pre-show, freaks. We have a full Bitcoin infused list. It's a very big week in Bitcoin specific news.
Yeah. All right. So let's turn the tide of the vibes here. Let's go to Clark's dashboard.
We're an hour in. We're going to Clark's dashboard.
Let's anchor into some sanity here, which is Clark's dashboard. It gives us all the data we need on the happenings of the Bitcoin network at this current point in time.
Zeroed out.
Yeah, it did. Bitcoin crashed last week to zero, according to Clark's dashboard. The current price of Bitcoin is 19,318 cuck bucks. One cuck buck is going to get you 5,175 sats. We're sitting at a 370.3 billion market cap. We are at block height 756,249. I missed a palindrome block I was waiting for like 2 days last week. I missed it by one block. I was pretty pissed about that, but we will have another at block height 756,657. So that's in 408 blocks. We did have a difficulty adjustment this week between last week's show and this show. It was a negative adjustment of 2.1%. Blocks were coming in at 10 minutes and 2 seconds on average. We're currently...
difficulty adjustment we've had in 5 difficulty adjustments.
Yeah, first downward difficulty adjustment since July.
Positive.
Yeah. We're currently 1,767 blocks away from the next adjustment, which is estimated to be on October 11th as of right now. Again, there's not too much data since the last adjustment, but right now it's estimated that'll be an upwards adjustment of 3.7%. That's because blocks have come in at 9 minutes and 29 seconds on average. They're currently in five-figure mempool for Clark right now, which hasn't been the case in many weeks here on RHR. 10,618 transactions in Clark's mempool, and there are 5,631.64 Bitcoin in unspent capacity on Samourai's Whirlpool, and that unspent value is $109 million on the dot right now. That's the state of the network. Downward difficulty adjustment, since that pertains to mining. We'll segue to our first topic of the week in Bitcoin, which is the fact that Compute North filed for bankruptcy last week. This came in Friday morning. A bit of a shock. Compute North, I believe they were doing a lot of hosting for Marathon and a number of other reputable miners, and it seems like they had to go hat in hand to bankruptcy court, file for bankruptcy. It seems like, I think, from what I've heard, they were running into problems down here in Texas, spinning up infrastructure and keeping it up, and they had, obviously, many debt obligations that they had to pay back. This was a bit surprising, though, because in February this year, they raised $85 million in equity and secured a $200 or $300 million line of credit. So you'd think they would have been well capitalized, but obviously they raised in February and the markets went to shit between now and then. And then if you have execution risk on the back end of actually spinning up infrastructure and plugging stuff in so you can get revenue, it seems like they had a sequence of unfortunate events over the course of this year that forced them into bankruptcy. And from what I'm hearing in the mining space, this is just the first of many others in a similar position to come moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's a public acknowledgement of what we've been saying, which is the pain in the mining industry is not over yet. Not even close.
No. Yeah, thinking optimistically of Bitcoin. Like, if you're deploying capital into mining over the next 3 to 6 months, it's probably going to be looked back on as one of the best times to deploy into the space. There's going to be assets selling for pennies on the dollar.
Right?
I mean,
we're like at the beginning-ish, maybe, but don't blow your load.
No, but still, the price per terahash for machines is down 80% year on year.
But it's going to go lower.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go lower. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the top line machines are selling in the mid to high teens per terahash at some point in the next.
If you're putting a lot of money in, then yeah, you can't do it all at once anyway. But I mean, if you're a smaller operation, just wait a few months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm burping. And the burping. Yeah, so the mining pain is definitely being dragged out. Obviously we had a bunch of publicly traded miners and private miners selling hordes of their Bitcoin treasury, and it seems like here's the next wave of turbulence in the mining sector. Again, I'm hearing rumblings that Compute North is just the first of a few other hosting companies that may be in similar positions and forced to do something similar at some point in the near future. So be on the lookout for that. Next on the list, we have Brink is now funding 11 Bitcoin Lightning developers. Just Lightning developers?
No, Bitcoin and Lightning developers.
Bitcoin and Lightning developers. I'm just reading.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
Who did they just...
It says right there.
I've got my VPN on and the site's not spinning up.
Michael Ford, Fanquake, they've taken on. He was formerly funded by BitMEX, if I recall correctly, and Taj Dryja. They took both of them on. They moved a couple of guys over to full-time from part-time, bumped up their grant, presumably.
I heard what's David Marcus's company again? Lightspark. Didn't they hired Tad Shiger, didn't they?
He just joined. We don't know what role. Now my thought is maybe his role is more of like an advisory role without real cash compensation. It might be mostly equity based, because obviously it seems like he's taking a decent amount of money from Brink to work on Bitcoin.
That's good to see. Yeah, it was. Good get for David Marcus in any capacity to have Taj, on your team.
Yeah, it's a pretty massive hire. We talked about it when it happened.
Yeah, one of the co-authors of the Lightning white paper, and he created DLCs too, or was his idea, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
And UTXO, he's involved with that. He's a pretty.
I don't have it on the list, but a new UTXO implementation has emerged.
Yeah, on what?
It's called Zero Sync. It dropped right before we went live.
Who's working on that?
No idea. Literally dropped before we went live. Did not look into it. But you just brought it up.
Logan, look that up. Look up Zero Sync if you can find it. Maybe we'll talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, shout out to Brink.
On no bullshit Bitcoin.
Funding the devs. Speaking of no bullshit Bitcoin, they dropped news yesterday. Was it yesterday or today? I think it was yesterday. Bitnob launches in Kenya. This is pretty massive, actually, and includes integration with M-Pesa network, enabling 50 million users to easily send and receive via Lightning from their phones. So M-Pesa has been a company on the radar of Bitcoiners for some time. If you're not familiar with it, it's a very large payments network throughout Africa that many people leverage that allows them to send money via text message over their phone. It is, I believe, the go-to payments app for many people in Africa, and the fact that Bitnob is integrating with them to allow M-Pesa customers to send Bitcoin in the same fashion that they send money via text messages is pretty massive.
Yeah, so I this is really big. So Bitnob is obviously a KYC broker that was previously in Nigeria and Ghana, and now they've opened in Kenya. The flow for user is they create a Bitnob account, they get their account verified, and then they basically attach their M-Pesa account to it, and Bitnob can go back and forth from M-Pesa. So if you think about it from like a real world practice, and Bitnob is Lightning enabled. They're one of the first exchanges to add Lightning. So all users have a Lightning address. User in America wants to send money home to a family member. They send Bitcoin to the Lightning address that they're given to. And if that user in Kenya has a choice of keeping it in Bitcoin or automatically converting it to US dollars in M-Pesa, if they do the automatic convert, they just never even they never have to sign back into their Bitnob account again. Like that any sat sent to that Lightning address will just automatically convert, show up in their M-Pesa account as their local currency. And then they can use it the way they normally use M-Pesa, and vice versa. If they want to fund their Bitnob account, they can send directly from M-Pesa into Bitnob.
So I misspoke.
Any Lightning address in the world that they
so I
want to
misspoke. There's no M-Pesa to M-Pesa Lightning transactions happening. It's just a bridge to Bitnob.
So if I have an M-Pesa account and you have an M-Pesa account and we both link it to our Bitnobs, then presumably we can send sats to each other if we want to as well.
Oh, okay.
But that's not going to be the main use case. The main use case is really going to be for funding accounts and for remittance in the reverse. Yeah. And my limited understanding of the African
integration,
how people use these things.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Bernard and team at Bitnob. Again, this is massive. Again, many people have been speculating whether or not Bitcoin would be integrated into M-Pesa in any capacity, and this seems like the first major foray into making that a reality. So
and they have 50 million active users of M-Pesa, monthly active users.
Yeah.
Just for reference, Cash App is at like 80 million users.
Yeah, let's go. Shout out Bitnob. Keep crushing. Speaking of Lightning payments apps, one of the biggest ones here in the States, Strike, raised $80 million in new funding, led by 1031, which Matt and I are both partners at. So this is something we're very proud of, very excited about. But Matt, I think you do a great job of explaining. We've talked to Jack. I've interviewed him at Riga. You interviewed him at BitBlock Boom. And you asked him some pretty hard-pressing questions at BitBlock Boom surrounding whether or not if Strike is all hump and no red rocket. Why is it a red rocket?
Look, this is a massive deal for us. We've been working this deal for a while. I've been looking forward to sharing it with you all. And you know, I am obviously extremely bullish on Strike. We are at 1031. We're very excited to support them. I have said countless times on Rabbit Hole Recap that I think people are underestimating this merchant play. Specifically, you don't have to be a Strike user to be able to take advantage of it, be able to pay from any Lightning wallet to any Strike merchant. And when we're talking about potential merchants, we're talking about the big dogs, Whole Foods, Walmart, that type of situation where it's like one day it is, one day it isn't. Obviously, it's been going slower than expected. I think people will be pleasantly surprised. We'll see. I don't think it's our need to prove it to anybody. But I will say that the fact that a Bitcoin-only venture fund, 1031, led a round of this magnitude into a Bitcoin-only company, and we were joined by two major endowments, Washington University and Wyoming, is a really big deal. A lot of the shitcoin VCs will say that you can't do large fund deployments into Bitcoin-only space, and we're seeing the exact opposite. We're seeing a need for more funds and a lot of projects that need to be supported that are very promising, both as from an investment point of view and from a world changing point of view. So I think this is a absolutely massive fucking deal. And I think people probably just won't appreciate it for a few years, and that's fine by me.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited for this too. And yeah, obviously a lot of naysayers out there. Strike's got a lot to prove, but as Matt said, we've been working on this deal for a considerable amount of time, and we would not be leading this if we weren't confident that Jack and team are going to follow up. I mean, we've been able to beat a lot of their team over the last few months, and they've amassed an extremely impressive amount of people that are coming from pretty large companies and have built large growth companies in the past. So I think it's going to be exciting in the next few years.
One other thing I would add is something that I touched on with my Mahler's conversation in Austin, and then Marty also touched on with Mahler's in Riga, is this concept where Strike saves the merchant, that 3 to 5% on straight up credit card processing fees. They also are protecting them from chargebacks because it's Bitcoin and it's instantly settled. So especially for online merchants, stuff with high fraud, that's a even higher percentage on top of that 3 to 5%. Then a portion of that can be provided as sats back. And it's not just provided as sats back necessarily for just Strike users. With an API and the ability to cryptographically verify that your wallet paid something, theoretically, any Lightning wallet will be able to ping into that API, and receive sats back for their users and for themselves. So there's a very strong incentive there. And we always talk about incentives when we talk about Bitcoin. There's a very strong incentive there that will reward the best open source Lightning wallets with the best UX and the best customer experience, because they will get a greater share of that sats back return. So there's actually a funding mechanism that emerges here for these open source wallets that doesn't include selling user data, that doesn't include subscription fees or something like that. And these open source wallets have had a very tough time of monetizing. And then on top of that, which really aligns with our mission at 1031, is a portion of their debit card fees will be going towards open source development. And at 1031, we provide grants, no strings attached, to open source projects. So you love to see that as well.
Yeah. That wallet funding mechanism blew my mind when it was first explained to me. And again, as Matt said, it's the beauty of Bitcoin, since you can cryptographically prove that one of your users used your wallet to pay a strike invoice, and you can get paid for that. And again, going back to the novelness is the word, novelty of the Bitcoin network and Lightning, specifically the final instant settlement and that ability to communicate over the messaging network immediately. Like, these wallets are going to get paid right away. They're not going to have to wait like N30, N90, whatever. Like, everything will happen instantly. It is a step function improvement on the user experience in quality and security compared to the incumbent payments network. So again, we're really excited to see Strike go attack their plan and bring this to more and more people. And yeah, I'll echo another thing that Matt said. Like, there is a lot of Bitcoin only ideologically pure companies out there who want to get Bitcoin out to the masses that need significant amount of capital. The idea that a Bitcoin only venture fund is a stupid idea is a stupid idea in and of itself. It's crazy.
And while news like this tends to make the pages of financial papers and whatnot, there have been a lot of smaller deals that we're very excited about. We do deals of many different sizes, and recently one of them has just opened up a proper public waitlist, and that's on the no KYC side. That's Peach Bitcoin.
Yeah, shout out to Steph.
That I'm very excited about. I didn't really want to talk about it while it was in closed beta, but she is opening it up. Her team is fantastic, and we're really excited about that too. So that just shows you like the
breadth.
Like, the Bitcoin only space is filled with many different types of projects, and a lot of them need support. And I'm just happy to be there and facilitate it.
Yeah, we're gonna win, freaks. We're gonna win. Optimism. Maybe we should start with the
bullish on Peach.
Yes, bullish on Peach.
Mobile
bullish
app,
on Bitcoin.
P2P trading.
Very good UX too. That's what, they're bringing better design aesthetics to the space as well. Yeah, we should start with doom and gloom and end on all this bullish Bitcoin stuff. Speaking of bullish Bitcoin,
I guess.
Yeah, I guess. This is pretty big news. Yesterday, Swan acquired Spectre and is spinning out another section of their business, Spectre Labs. So it's a pretty big move from Swan. Launched their mobile app earlier this year, and now it seems like they're moving their users towards self-custody. Obviously, they always have tried to do that and advocated for that, but now this is a material step in that direction by acquiring a company working on open source software and hardware so that they can provide their users with the solutions that will enable them to take control of their Bitcoin at the end of the day. So it'll be interesting to see how they implement this.
This deal makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for the Spectre team that we're having trouble monetizing. It makes a lot of sense for the Swan team that, did not necessarily have an easy way of onboarding people through the different steps of self-custody. Like obviously Spectre, you can use Spectre as a single sig, you can use it as a multi-sig, you can use it with hardware wallets, you can use it with your own node very easily. So there's a lot of different, they can take users through the progression. But it's important to realize that Spectre is MIT licensed open source software. So when we talk about licenses, there's a couple different open source licenses, and us nerds will like to argue about which licenses are actually open source and which ones aren't. The maximalists on the open source side, free open source side, free as in freedom, really like the MIT license, because the MIT license, literally anyone can fork it without any restrictions. You can fork it, you can monetize it, you can turn it closed source if you want to on the fork. You can do whatever you want with it. And Swan is making a commitment to keep it MIT licensed and independent. But even if they fail on that commitment, like I said, anyone can fork it. Spectre has a fantastic team. So I kind of look at this as more of an acqui-hire, which makes a lot of sense. Like their team knows their stuff. They have their own do-it-yourself hardware wallet and the Spectre DIY as well. So they know hardware, they know software. So it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it will allow Swan to expand the options that they provide their users. Obviously, it started out as a DCA mechanism where you can buy Bitcoin at a set cadence or in one go. And they added like an investor arm for high net worth individuals and a private investment arm to their business. And now it makes sense that they would begin to expand that suite of services by offering their customers self-custody solutions. Could easily see them begin to implement multi-sig solutions and try to build products on top of that as well, leveraging Spectre. So yeah, it's bullish. Good to see Swan moving forward, expanding what they're doing. The more options, the better. We're big fans of optionality here at RHR. And speaking of optionality, if you're running a Lightning Network node, you have options. Are you running LND? Are you running Core Lightning? Are you running LDK? If you're running Core Lightning, they just upgraded to version 0.12.1. Not a major upgrade, looking at it. Bug fixes. Topology plugin. Nothing too massive here, right?
We have a lot of software updates. So are you gonna do this for each software update?
No, we have BTCPayServer version 1.6.11 has been released.
This is big.
They added the podcast server, didn't they?
Yeah, it comes with Dennis Reinman's pod server, which allows you to both self-host your RSS feed, so you can actually self-host your podcast completely, regardless of Bitcoin, and then any of your listeners can listen to it from any podcasting app. And it also lets you plug into Podcasting 2.0 through your BTCPayServer relatively easily. Now it is in like super alpha or something like that, so tread carefully, but good to see. It's a really cool project coming from a Bitcoin podcaster. So
are we going to move our server from Anchor to BTC Pay pod server?
I hate that we're on Anchor.
I do too.
But it's just so convenient.
It really is convenient.
I think what we're going to do is eventually Anchor will censor us, and we'll do like a Palm style grandstand about like the signal can't be stopped. They're trying to stop it, and then we'll switch at that point. You use the convenient option until you can no longer do it, and then you switch over.
Yeah. Well, we do have inside connections at Anchor. That's why I started hosting the podcast there in the first place.
Anchor also lets us, because of Spotify's horrible walled garden, Anchor, if you publish through Anchor, it's the only way to get this video into Spotify.
Yes. So if you're watching this video on Spotify, you can thank Anchor, which is a Spotify company. Blockstream Jade.
I remember when I was first setting up Podcasting 2.0, and I was talking to Adam Curry in DMs, and he gave me like this, like it was like when I tell people that they should use their own node, but with us using Anchor instead of self-hosting our RSS feed, he like completely read me the riot act, and I just felt so ashamed. Apologies, Adam. But we're just going to continue and then grandstand when we get censored and then switch.
Yes. Are we going to start selling mattresses too?
No, we will not be selling mattresses. That is fucking laser eyes off mattress selling initiated.
Chevy thinks you're going to be pushing mattresses soon.
Only the best mattresses, though.
Or no, excuse me, MG Smith thinks I love my mattress. We went and bought like
Marty, are you about to do a show? Are you about to do a mattress show after that?
Well, this is a hard mattress to get. There's no company behind it. You go find a Four Seasons.
He's fucking mid-rolling a mattress.
You find a Four Seasons hotel that has extra mattresses, and you go buy one of theirs. That's what you do. That's some inside mattress tips for you freaks.
Yeah, no, Jevy's right. Like, we need to get. We're already 2 bear markets in, and we haven't gotten a whiskey sponsorship yet. We need a whiskey sponsorship.
We've been keeping the O'Shaughnessy's Keeper's Heart on the bookshelf. We're giving you free press here.
Consider it. It's actually a really good whiskey.
It is. I had a glass last night. It was very good.
Hard not to finish the whole bottle, though. That's the biggest concern.
Yeah, I did have a glass of Keeper's Heart last night while writing the bed.
Make sure you go to their website, buy the bottle, and use our discount code, RHR.
Can you buy it? You probably can't buy it online, can you?
And we don't have maybe we have a discount code. I don't know.
Maybe that's how we start. We'll prove that we can push bottles first, and then you can start paying us. Just kidding. No pressure.
Oh, we have Terror Bear saying the Genesis Block whiskey. I actually have a bottle of that. Shout out to that team over there. I just don't want to open it, so I haven't tried it yet.
What was the gin?
It's so pretty, and it's like a collectible.
What was the gin that Esquedo gave me?
Satoshi's gin, delicious.
That was really good.
This is just the mid-roll section where we just advertise a bunch of liquor that we do not have any sponsorship deals with.
Yes.
That gin was great. That was, if you're a new freak, go back. It was like 3 years ago. It was 2019, I think. We were in a hotel room in San Francisco.
It was around Bitcoin 2019. It was 3 years ago.
Askew and of the HodlHodl guys, and we just polished off a bottle of Satoshi gin. That was a great rip.
It was a great rip. Bitcoin 2019. We've come so far. You were a clean-shaven baby face on that roof.
We were sitting on picnic tables, drinking out of plastic cups, doing a live RHR.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we have
3 years ago.
We could be back on picnic tables, all right? Stay humble over there, okay?
Drinking out of plastic cup. I will never drink out of a plastic cup again.
All right. Note it, freaks. Note it.
I don't usually speak in absolutes, but
that might end up being a soundboard clip. So we're gonna find you drinking a plastic.
You don't use sound on rocket.
We're gonna see you drinking a plastic cup on air one day. It's gonna be like, I will never drink out of plastic cups.
It just tastes so bad. Fuck plastic.
What? I don't notice any different taste.
It's not like it's expensive to have a glass and just wash the glass.
No, certainly not. Certainly more environmentally friendly. And as you freaks know, we're environmentalists here at RHR. So make sure you're using reusable drink apparatuses.
I pretty much cut out plastic out of most of our. I've cut out I think it's single-use plastic. I've cut out single-use plastic out of most of my life.
I have not. As you can see here.
I will agree that there are many, many industrial uses and reusable uses of plastic that I do not get rid of out of my life.
We've been here for an hour. There's only been, 3 blocks since we read Clark's dashboard. We've been here for almost an hour and a half. So 3 blocks in 30 minutes. Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
No, it's been an hour and a half. It's been 90
I know,
minutes.
but we read Clark's dashboard like a half hour ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Blockstream.
I 8 paper straws. Paper straws can very pro plastic straws. I have someone in the comments. I don't use plastic straws because I just sip out of the glass. But you should have that. Your right as an American should be that you should be able to drink out of a plastic straw.
Might be my wife's number one pet peeve.
Paper straws.
Paper straws.
They just shouldn't exist. They don't work.
She gets infuriated when she gets
Just drink out of the glass. What do you need a straw for?
Well, especially when you have kids, and then the kids get paper straws, and they just like chew through it in 2 seconds, and then they're like crying there, like I can't get my juice, and it's like yeah, because you broke your paper straw.
Oh wow! So it cuts deep for you.
Yes, very deep.
Yeah, I just drink out of the glass.
Yeah. Speaking of deep, if your pockets aren't deep and you're looking for a cheap hardware wallet, you can get the Jade hardware wallet relatively cheap, and they just upgraded to version 0.1.38. Jade, underappreciated hardware project in the space. It's really cool. And back was showing me his Jade wallet in Riga.
No secure element though.
No secure element. No secure element.
They do something interesting where they like authenticate via their server or something, but I don't understand how it works.
Let's dive in. It sounds like a Citadel Dispatch episode.
It does.
Electrum version 4.3.2 has been released. We're running an Electrum server. Is this the wallet or the server?
No, this is the wallet.
We're using an Electrum wallet. Without a server, you probably shouldn't, because you're probably getting tracked by the CIA.
They updated something that's like your favorite feature.
What's that? Taro?
Well, you're like you love rendezvous routing and trampoline.
Ah.
Routing. They updated somewhere how they handle the trampoline routing.
But does anybody use it? Because Electrum has their own Lightning implementation. Does anybody use it?
Most people use LND. I mean, that's not necessarily a good thing, but most people use LND.
Yeah.
Very, very few are using Electrum's Python Lightning implementation. I've never tested it or used it. I've just stopped using Electrum, period. I just use Sparrow now.
This actually reminds me. I have to remind you, the only time I've ever seen somebody use the Electrum Lightning implementation was that dude. I don't know if you remember this, when we were in Nashville when I was there last in July, at dinner one night, I had my friend Chip wants to buy a Citadel Dispatch hat, and you create a Lightning invoice, and I had him pay that, and he paid it using the Electrum Lightning.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, he also hasn't gotten his hat yet, so we need to coordinate there to get him his hat.
Oh, because I went through you. Did I send you the invoice?
Yeah.
Okay, so send me a mailing address.
Yeah. just Chip, I haven't forgotten.
Wasn't this months ago?
This was months ago, yes. He thought
send me well, you got a good deal out of it because the price was way higher at that point.
Yes.
Just send me a mailing address and I'll send them one ASAP.
Hell yeah.
But if you want to go down that tangent, most people probably pay with Strike. They probably don't even, or Wallet of Satoshi, where it's custodial. So either like KYC, custodial, or custodial. Most people probably aren't paying with their own node.
Chip did.
Unfortunate, but slow and steady. We'll get there.
Also,
I know you guys really care about my plastic straw opinion. I just want to be clear that obviously it should not be a right for Americans to drink out of a plastic straw, but it should be a right of any independent business to decide what kind of straws they want to serve you. And free market forces should allow you to decide which establishment you want to attend to. I want my take on plastic straws to be absolutely clear.
Ironclad. We're getting asked about, do you know if there's any updates on Mutiny Wallet?
I don't know of any updates on Mutiny Wallet. I'm disappointed that they didn't do Mutiny with 2 U's. That's just going to be a constant struggle with them. No, they're working on it.
Yeah, they're working on it, freaks. Give them some time. They're working on it like right out here too in the comments. Ben Carmen had an update for the CoinJoin project he's working on. We should get him in here. If he's here. Ben, if you're listening, come in and come give an update.
Shoe him this time?
What was that?
Are you going to shoe him this time?
Nah, maybe. Depends on how it goes. Depends. Last time Ben came in here, we got a good gif out of it. Maybe I'll kick him. Maybe I'll kick him in the ass and tell him to get out. A literal kick in the ass out the door. So Ben, beware if you do come in here. It's on the table. Samourai version 0.99.98F has been released.
This is a massive update. So they integrated Auth47, which allows you to use your BIP47 payment code to sign into websites by just scanning a QR code rather than putting in a username and password. They added a whole new interface for collaborative transactions that make them easier to do now. Fantastic to see. And they added a feature where if you want to do a collaborative transaction rather than like a Whirlpool, if you want to do like one of their Stonewall 2X's where it's a 2-person coin join, you can do it with them. They're calling it JoinBot, and you pay them a fee and you can do it with them.
Hell yeah.
So big UX updates, Auth47 support, and collaborative transaction updates.
Shout out to the Samourai team, crushing it. I mean, the UX has gotten significantly better. Just like in the last 2 years since I've been using it. And that auth too. I used LNURL auth for the first time yesterday. It was a sick experience.
Yeah, so it's similar to that, but instead of the private key being your Lightning node, the private key is your BIP47 payment code.
Yeah, that's dope. More software updates. The initial release of Taro, Matt's favorite project, has hit the market. Hit yesterday. It's on. Is it on mainnet or is it just testnet?
It's mainnet on chain only right now.
Mainnet on chain only.
Code released for testing. I mean, Marty was being
facetious.
Yeah, I just this also needs to have a proper distinction because there are some people on Twitter that think that my lack of optimism for Taro is me saying they shouldn't build Taro. They can build whatever the fuck they want, right? You don't need my permission. You don't need anyone else's permission to build on top of Bitcoin. My feeling is that, my thought is that at the end of the day, networks that are more centralized, that do not offer censorship resistance, that do not offer the lack of counterparty risk that Bitcoin does, will be cheaper and faster to use. So for assets that do not need or have those properties to begin with, such as so-called stable coins, which are essentially trusting a single company to have a basket of assets or dollars that are backing that thing, and they can freeze it at will, they can seize the money, they can rug pull you at will. They don't have censorship resistance by default because you're already trusting that company. So they are going to go with more centralized networks that don't offer censorship resistance, because even if that network has censorship resistance, they're not benefiting from it. They just want cheap, fast transactions. So Taro might have some portion of the market, but it's going to be a very negligible portion of the market. And then on the other side, for the proponents that want to see as much shitcoin support on Bitcoin as possible, a lot of them are bullish on RGB and say RGB is way ahead. But I would also say that RGB has the same issue. It has the same issue. That's why would someone transfer US dollars on Bitcoin that's going to cost more and is not going to have as great of a user experience when they can do it on Tron or some shit like that? The incentives don't line up.
Yeah. A couple things. Number one, would we have like a DeRose John Seth like breakup if I launched Taro NFTs for RHR?
Yes.
Okay.
Unequivocally.
Noted. And then two, we actually had the Collider team join the Commons yesterday, and they demoed their project to me, which is BitMEX like margin trading exchange that leverages Lightning Network. And then on top of that, they have a synthetic dollar that connects to that exchange. You basically create synthetic dollar exposure using long and short positions on their trading engine. And that's a very interesting way to bring a quote unquote, it's not really a stable coin, but it's a way to get out of the volatility of Bitcoin and hold static value using the Bitcoin network. So that model, I'm excited to see that model explored as well, beyond just your typical stable coins, whether they be Taro, Tether, USDC, the programmatic stable coins, like DAI. I think that synthetic dollar exposure using those trading mechanisms is an interesting way to get a similar end result. And speaking of Tether, I had Paolo Ardoino on yesterday from Bitfinex Tether. We talked about all the Tether FUD, what's going on with Tether, and then we actually really focused on Hole Punch and Keat, which is I'm really excited to see Hole Punch particularly become more popular and see more people build on top of that, because I think it's a really interesting data structure and platform to build on. It's the way Paolo described it was like an iteration on BitTorrent somewhat. So go check that out, freaks. And Keat, they looks like they implemented Lightning payments in their app earlier this week too. They tweeted out a picture of it. So
It's Mac only, right?
I don't want
and not open source yet.
I don't want to speak out of line.
Pretty sure it's Mac only and not open source.
I think it's Mac only. It's not open source yet. Paolo explained that yesterday. They are going to open source it. They say they are.
I look forward to seeing what they have in store for us.
Yeah, I think they want to get the developer kits all buttoned up before open sourcing it. I think that's what he said yesterday. Yeah, go check out Keat. The Swan brothers are very bullish on Hole Punch. They were very bullish on Bitcoin in the early days. Apparently, the Swan brothers had a late night similar to the one they had when they first discovered Bitcoin in regards to Hole Punch. So if you're using the Swan signal, there's some signal behind Hole Punch. Great brothers.
You mean Swan and his brother?
Yeah. Jeff.
Ty is saying Keat is on Linux, Mac, and Windows, but not mobile. That's news to me. Good to see.
Yeah, get on your Linux. What do we have next? Bitmatrix brings Uniswap-like project to Liquid. Yeah, this was interesting. I saw rumblings about this earlier. So yeah, more shitcoin trading. Is Liquid Bitcoin? Is John Carvalho going to get triggered?
Liquid makes more sense in my head because it essentially, it degrades the censorship resistance scale. It moves closer to convenience and low cost than Lightning does. Like Lightning, there's a specific set of trade-offs that we deal with on Lightning that we deal with so that you retain control of your funds and then you retain the censorship resistant properties of Bitcoin. that like every Lightning channel open is essentially a batch Bitcoin transaction, right? There's a Bitcoin multisig underneath that you have a key to. It's a 2 of 2 multisig that you have a key to that you can close out on chain anytime. And everything that is Lightning related is for that trade-off. It's for the trade-off of actually using real Bitcoin in a censorship-resistant fashion, peer-to-peer censorship-resistant fashion to use it. Liquid makes a different set of trade-offs that is essentially a federated, completely different blockchain that has permissioned elements to it, and that the federation, if they hit a quorum, can, rug you or close down the network. So stablecoins on Liquid make more sense to me. And even that hasn't seen any kind of real adoption, right? Like Tron, Solana, whatever, like they dominate in the stablecoin market. But people love Uniswap, and if Liquid's going to make a case that this is where shitcoin trading should happen, and this is where people are going to trade for stablecoins, then they kind of need their own Uniswap type of deal. And it's pretty cool that they were able to build this without any significant changes to Liquid. Yeah, I mean, I haven't tested it out.
Yeah, it's the thing. It's like what I told Paolo. Like, I don't use Tether. I don't plan on using this yet.
I've literally never used Tether.
Yeah.
I've never used a stablecoin.
Neither have I.
A quote unquote stablecoin.
Yeah.
But if I was going to use one, it would probably be like Tether on Tron.
You heard it here first. Matt is a Tron maximalist. Speaking of stablecoins, TBD partners with Circle. This was interesting.
Yeah, this one kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
Same.
Circle is the largest regulated stablecoin. So if you're operating a distributed exchange, decentralized exchange protocol, and you want stablecoin support, it kind of makes sense that they'd get them on board. I still think like we're gonna have a moment when everyone realizes that all these assets that are pegged to something, to a third party, can just be frozen and seized at will or rugged at will. And particularly, something that's like BlackRock based and Goldman backed, BlackRock backed, Goldman backed, like USDC is like kind of in like a honeymoon phase where they have frozen assets, but they haven't frozen that many. They're going to, that's going to ramp up. There's going to be more push to like kind of make it a KYC ecosystem. We've seen Tether freeze assets, but Tether more kind of goes, they're more renegade, right? They're more anti-state. They kind of push the limits. I mean, we saw with Tornado Cash. As soon as the Tornado Cash sanctions happened, USDC proactively froze everything, and Tether was like, "We're waiting for you to mail us a letter asking us to do it."
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a little bit disappointing. We'll see. Look, it's not even out yet, so. We'll see when it comes out, but I was a little bit. It shows like a wrong direction of priorities.
Yeah, agreed. I wonder this whole conversation on stablecoins, considering the front half of this episode,
failing.
Yeah, exactly. Like all these currencies are like, how long are stablecoins going to be in the conversation? Like 5 years?
Sats are my stablecoin.
Same.
Cannot repeat it enough. But in the short term, I will also respect the people that work in the developing world and see firsthand that a lot of people in these different countries, they want US dollars and they can't get US dollars another way, and they're willing to trust a company with that. And hopefully most of those people understand the trade-off they're making, but I do not think most of them do, and that's why it's going to be really painful to watch as those get cracked down on more.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeremy Allaire does not instill confidence.
So BTC Pins is asking, is this like strike using stable coins in some markets. There are similarities. Both are basically operating under, it's really hard to have bank accounts in a bunch of different countries as you launch. And that's where stable coins kind of bridge that gap for people, obviously, because you can just integrate them in, and you don't need banking relationships in all these different places. And I guess now that we've led the strike round, I should be clear here. I do not have any private information on strike stablecoin usage, but my understanding as a member of the public is their Argentina rollout was Tether on Tron. So, I mean, that just goes towards that thesis that if you want a stablecoin, you're going to use the one that is on the cheapest, most UX-friendly chain that's completely centralized and not censorship resistant because you're trusting Tether anyway. And it also goes towards the thesis that you're going to use one that is, more focused on property rights than a Goldman BlackRock-backed one.
Yeah. Tether on Tron. Matt's bullish.
To be clear, Tron the asset is a complete shitcoin. And
but Matt's good friend.
Coins and I've never owned any Tron.
Matt's good friends with Justin Sun, though.
And I'm not good friends with Justin Sun.
I heard you were the anonymous buyer of that lunch with him a couple years ago.
Oh my! What was that, like $5 million?
Oh wait, no, he bought lunch with.
With
the Oracle of Omaha.
Buffett? Was it with Buffett?
Yeah, with Buffett. I don't think it ever happened though. I think Buffett was like, "Thanks, but no thanks." Speaking of lunches that were paid for, John, the guy who bought lunch with me for the HodlHodl auction at BitBlock Boom, I haven't forgotten. We're going to go to lunch. Apparently, he was harassing my brother at the Houston meetup last week.
Drugged again.
We're going to get lunch, Sean. Speaking of bullish, I mean, this whentaproot.org site, it's like a site to encourage more people to adopt Taproot. And then you go to the bottom and you see like the support, who's supporting it. And like a lot of the biggest wallets and companies already are. So if you go down further. There we go. Right there. So right now, the only major companies and wallets not supporting sending to BEC32M addresses are Binance US, Bitfinex, Bitso, Coinbase, Crypto.com, Fireblocks, FTX, Gemini, Kraken, Luno, Paxful, PayPal, Strike, Venmo, and WazirX. Venmo, interesting to see it on that list, and PayPal.
Well, Venmo I was wrong about that. I mean, they added Bitcoin withdrawals.
Yeah.
I was also like never expected. Not only, by the way, I didn't put this on the list because who the fuck gives a shit? But not only did Robinhood add withdrawals, but they're releasing their own self-custody wallet, which I just never expected. Just did not see that coming at all.
Hey, props for props are due. I like being surprised to the upside.
I mean, it's like self-custody. It's like based on Polygon. It's like a shitcoin wallet or something.
Never mind.
I think it has like a DEX in it or quote unquote decentralized exchange. I wonder if the reason it looks like so many are supporting is because they want users to test wallets and then submit. And they like obviously were a little bit focused on adding the ones that have already supported it. Because I mean, Marty, have you made a Taproot transaction yet?
I think so. Yeah, I spun up new XPubs recently, and chose to use Taproot.
I made one for shits and giggles. Like I don't use Taproot right now. So yeah, it'd be good to see more support in the space. Whenever you have a new address format, you have this issue where what came first, the chicken or the egg? No, maybe that's not a good. But you have this issue where in the beginning, like it takes a while for it to be a meaningful amount of transactions. And from a privacy perspective, if you're using something that very few users are using, it can be used as an additional data point when trying to surveil you when you're using Bitcoin. And SegWit had the same kind of hurdle. We're past that now. A significant amount of Bitcoin users use SegWit addresses, native SegWit addresses, the ones that start with BC1. And basically for Taproot, we hope to see a similar thing. We hope to see Taproot adoption happen kind of gradually, then suddenly.
Yeah.
But those first users take an additional privacy hit, essentially.
Yeah, it'll take time. It'll take time.
Also, for cold storage, you should not. The cautious move is to always be slow to adopt a new address format. Yeah. I mean, it took me a while to switch to native SegWit in my cold storage.
Patience, freaks. Patience. It'll happen. If you want to track it as it happens. What is this? Whentaproot.org?
Yeah, but they have whentaproot.com too. It just redirects.
Whentaproot.org.
I think Fiat Joff, always the contrarian on Twitter, mentioned that there's no instructions on the website on how to actually integrate Taproot into your wallet if you're one of the developers. I know that Stephen DeLorme is involved in this project, who's relatively big in the Bitcoin design community and has become a good friend. Often visits us at Bitcoin Park. So knowing him, I assume this website is open source. So if you're up for it and you know how to integrate Taproot, consider submitting a pull request or reaching out to him to help him get that on the website. If it's not already there, I'm just going to blindly trust Fiat Jaff when he says that it's not there.
When you're UX designers, you got to guide the user to the experience of actually implementing it. Come on. Speaking of design, we had the Austin Bitcoin Design Club meet here last night. They don't have a set cadence for their meetup, but shout out to Sahil and Carr for pushing that forward.
I also want to add, Hammersaw is asking Taproot has privacy trade-offs. Why? I went into why the negative in the beginning of adoption could be a privacy issue, but once again, you're going to have that issue with any new address format.
Because you can use process of elimination if very few people are using, and you have a smaller group of people to spy on.
Right. It's like, okay, so like you're using something like timing analysis is this idea of like you use when transactions are sent as another data point. Well, like you add timing analysis, you add, your normal on-chain analysis, like common input ownership heuristic where the inputs are all owned by the same person. And then this is another heuristic. It's like, oh, and they're using Taproot and 1% of people are using Taproot or something like that. But at scale, Taproot has some privacy benefits in terms of when you use multi-sig.
So it could be massive for Lightning, opening Lightning.
And Lightning is inherently multi-sig.
Yeah.
It's 2 of 2 multi-sigs for every channel. So in the long tail, it should have some privacy improvements over where the current status quo. And when people build on top of Taproot, it might enable other things that we're not even really thinking about or talking about right now. But in the short term, using Taproot adds another heuristic that chain surveillance companies can use against you.
Ty is correcting me in the comments. Austin Bitcoin Design Club is every 2 months. Ty, if you're in the comments right now and want to come talk about last night's meetup,
he won't shoot you.
I won't shoot you. I can't shoot Ty. I've been very vocal about my belief that we need better design in this space. So anybody pushing forward.
Steven's leading that charge hard. So is Connor Okus. There's a lot of good. There's a great group. There's a great group focused on design, like you said, Sahil and Carr with Austin Bitcoin Design Club. It's good to see. It seems like there's a lot of momentum in that area right now.
Yeah,
because we don't want to just build things. We don't want devs building things for devs.
No.
Just fine. Like that's good. Like I enjoy it as a power user, but we also need things that are intuitive and like we shouldn't have to. you shouldn't have to go to like a YouTube tutorial video for an hour to use a Bitcoin tool. You should be able to just download the app, and wherever education is needed, the app's design should guide you through that process.
Yes. Better design, better user
And Ty
experience.
said he's not going to come.
Yeah. Ty, get your ass in the comments once you hear every day.
He's afraid you're going to shoe him.
I'm not going to shoot you, Ty. All right, moving along. Shoutouts. We got 3 shoutouts this week. This one came in late. Missed last week's episode. Would have been good to get it in, but we didn't. And we're getting it in right now. Sup, freaks. Shout out to Carr on his last rip as producer for TFTC. The show definitely kicked it up a gear when he came on board. What an amazing professional and all-around gentleman. I can verify that. We are lucky to have him in Austin, and no doubt he will continue doing great things at Pleb Lab with the rest of the crew. Shout out, Carr.
Love Carr. 100% cosign.
And shout out to Logan, stepping in. Producer Logan over there. That's why we told you to put the damn microphone in, Logan. We knew you were going to have to talk. How's it going over there?
Figuring out how to turn this camera on.
You don't have to turn it on if you don't want to. You can just be a voice in the freak.
I'm a mysterious voice.
Yeah. Logan doesn't talk much. We're gonna open up and get Logan talking more.
Aware, but this is Logan's second rabbit hole recap.
Yes.
Because he did the one before Carr's last when Carr was in Nashville.
Yes. Logan, tell us all a joke. I'm kidding, Logan. You don't have to tell us a joke.
How many Logans does it take to tell a joke?
More than one, apparently.
Well, anyway, Logan, we appreciate you. Welcome to the team.
Good to be here.
It's great to have you, sir. He's been crushing it. How was the first shout out? Second one. Ooh, I'm very happy to see this one. Are you in the Philadelphia area? Do you like Bitcoin? Do you like people who also like Bitcoin? Well, if you like Bitcoin and you want to meet up with people in the Philadelphia area that like Bitcoin, then we've got a new John for you. Starting November 7th, Philly and the world will have a new Bitcoin meetup called Bitcoin John. You may be asking, what the hell does John mean? As defined by Urban Dictionary, John is Philly slang for a person, place, or thing. In other words, it means everything and anything. In the city where the colonies told England to piss off, we like to do things our own way. We now declare that the birthplace of the nation will be an important player in the birth of the Bitcoin standard. If you are interested in joining our ranks in the fight to bring about the Bitcoin standard, then we hope to see you. We'll be holding our first meetup on November 7th at Fergie's Pub on Sampson Street in Philadelphia. This is a dope meetup spot. I'll get into why moving forward. If you are interested in learning more or attending, check out our Twitter at BitcoinJohn, and John is spelled for you uncultured swine out there, JAWN, at BitcoinJohn. Go to the Twitter for updates. We hope to see many new and old faces as we grow the Bitcoin community in and around Philadelphia. As a native Philadelphian myself, I'm very excited to see a Bitcoin-only meetup coming, and Fergie's Pub is a great place. I don't know if you
give us the deal on Fergie's.
Well, Fergie's, I haven't been in the city quite some time, but for the longest time, they had a Rolling Stones cover band called Brown Sugar that would play every weekend, and it's one of the best cover bands I've ever seen. They're going to be upstairs at Fergie's. It's a small, intimate bar, very old bar down on Sampson Street, so it's going to be a very comfy meetup. They have a good stage up there too. Obviously, that's where Brown Sugar was playing, so it'll be a good spot for meetup.
Is it one of those like pubs that's been around for like 100 years or something?
Let's check. I mean, it's right around the corner from McGillen's.
They're telling the redcoats to go fuck themselves.
I don't think it was around then, but it's right around the corner from McGillen's, which has been around for like 150 years.
Yeah, Irish ones are usually.
Let me see the history. Let's go to Fergie's webpage and check it out.
I don't know if Marty's checking this live. It doesn't really matter.
It's an old bar. It's a fun bar.
Nice. Well, love to see new Bitcoin meetups pop up. A reminder to everyone, if you have not gone to a Bitcoin meetup in your area, consider it. It's a special experience. It's very grounding. It's very optimistic. It's just good to just meet other Bitcoiners and talk about things off the record. And if you don't have a Bitcoin only meetup, consider starting one.
Yes, like our good friends at Bitcoin John did. And yeah, John is a very Philly thing. Growing up in Philly, everything's a John. That's a sweet John right there. That John over there is an idiot. You going to the John tonight? Philly is, people say keep Austin weird, but Philly's actually got like legit weird, which is good. And it's pretty dangerous right now, but we're going to fix that. We're going to fix Philly. Don't worry. Bitcoin's going to fix Philly.
Well, what timeline is that, Marty?
Before my children go to high school.
Really? So 13 years or something like that.
Less than that. Yeah, like 12 years now.
That's really optimistic.
We're going to make it happen.
You heard it here first, freaks.
For anybody attending the first Bitcoin John meetup at Fergie's on November 7th, I'm going to try to make it. I haven't told my wife this yet, but I would like to be there.
Honey, if you're listening, I'm going.
Honey, we can go visit our parents. We'll go check. We'll do a midweek check-in on the parents, and then we'll come right back. Next last shout out. Another meetup update here. Oh wait, somebody just bought a shout out.
I love that the freaks talk about their meetup and our shout outs. Puts a smile on my face.
We have 4 shout outs this week. Listen up, freaks. Local meetup announcement. St. Louis Opus. Oh, god damn it. It's not St. Louis. It's San Luis Obispo. Obispo. San Luis Obispo, California. First Thursday of every month. Thursday, October 6th is our next one. If you're on the Central Coast and want to meet local Bitcoiners, we're here for you. Check us out on meetup.com. Search for SLO Bitcoiners or on Twitter at BTCSLO. One John does equal one John. So if you're in the San Luis Obispo, California area,
for us,
first Thursday of every month, go to meetup.com and check it out because they don't have a location. Include the location if you're going to be doing meetup announcements here. Sorry for lambasting you. Riga was incredible. Last shout out. Riga was incredible. It was great to meet you, Marty. Freaks, get yourself out there next year, but take care on the scooters. Hope you are doing okay, MTC. The Bitcoin meetup in God damn it. Leamington Spa. I know I pronounced it wrong. I think it's Leamington. Spelled Leamington. Leamington Spa UK is doing well with new members joining every month. Shout out to the regular gang. The next meetup, number 5, is on the 26th of October at 1900 hours in the Boiler Room Bar. Our Telegram channel is t.me/lembitcoin, but it's spelled LEAM. Twitter at lembitcoin, LEAM Bitcoin, and at Orange Surf BTC.
I love Orange Surf BTC. Good dude.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to you, freaks. Thanks for supporting the show, and thanks for running local meetups. Marty, he mentioned something about scooters in Riga. Is there a story that we don't know about with you?
Not with me. I stay away from the scooters because I'm not a kook. I'm not a shoobie. I don't ride the scooters in any city, especially not here in Austin. But yeah, MTC, as was mentioned in the shout out, he ate shit on one of the scooters apparently.
Were you there for it?
No, I was not, but I saw him not long after it happened.
You saw him afterwards?
Yeah.
Damn.
Let's see. We had a BitBlock Boom. There was, I think,
those roads are they have like the old cobblestone stuff. Like, it wouldn't be very scooter friendly.
Jevy, I don't want to dox you, but you had a scooter experience here in Austin at BitBlock Boom. Scooters, stay off the scooters. You look like an idiot. They're extremely dangerous. And they fucking annoy anybody that lives in the cities that they exist in. Scooters are fiat. Get your bulk up. Go for a run. Whatever happened to walking places? Fucking lazy asses. Back to the list. Cloudflare. launches free CAPTCHA alternative. I don't know if you know this, Matt, but Cloudflare, they're in the same building as us.
I did not know that. I normally default to hating Cloudflare and not trusting them. They basically offer middleman as a service, and because of widespread denial of service attacks, a lot of companies feel almost forced into their free plan. A lot of Bitcoin companies too. So it's a major privacy risk. But this seems pretty cool to me. Just because their main competitor in this field is fucking Google, and Google's horrible CAPTCHAs that I was just complaining about on Twitter the other day, because every time you use a hosted VPN, it's like every fucking website I go to, I gotta pick where the traffic lights are and pick where the
they're getting worse.
Bicycles, and it's like, oh, is this dog swimming? It's like,
yeah. I got a bunch the other week. It was like, pick out the smiling lions. I was like, what the fuck?
How do I even know what a lion smiling looks like?
Exactly.
That.
And then yesterday I got one, pick out the toy bunnies.
And you're like you're training the AI at the same time, right? So like you don't want to get it exactly correct. So you try and get it a little bit wrong to fuck with the AI and slow it down a tiny bit. But then sometimes they stop you, and it's a real fucking pain in the ass. So Cloudflare has an alternative. Their alternative is free to use. It seems like it does not send any information to Cloudflare servers. They are correct that their incentive here is more aligned than Google's, which is an ad sales company, aka basically corporate surveillance company, while Cloudflare operates on a subscription model. But it's good to see. It's good to see one of the big dogs be a competitor in this space, because at the end of the day, if it's a bunch of evil corporations running solutions here, it's better than just a single one.
Competition is good amongst the evil corporations.
Yeah, competition's good. But they say this will save us a bunch of time. There won't be as many false positives. It's more privacy preserving. They will pretty much check all the boxes to make it better than an absolutely low bar, which is the Google CAPTCHA. It's a fucking horrible experience.
Yeah, so this product's called Turnstile. So if you're running a business that has to protect itself from these bots, and you need to use something like CAPTCHA, consider Turnstile. Proud to have Cloudflare in the building here.
You shouldn't be. Cloudflare can go fuck themselves.
They have nice offices. So I got into an elevator with one of the Cloudflare employees yesterday and didn't scan my card in time to hit the floor to come to the Commons, so wound up going up to Cloudflare's floor with her. I think she got freaked out, like thinking I was like trying to sneak into the Cloudflare offices, but I got a peek. It's a nice office, designed very well.
I mean, their business model is protecting against unwanted traffic to your website, so you could have been like a physical manifestation of what they're trying to stop.
Yeah, elevators, man. No elevator talk either.
Yeah, what's your
the only elevator talk was like, I missed it. I was like, guess I'm
Marty. How do you feel about balconies?
That's not quite. I actually have a fear of heights, so it depends on how high up the balcony is. If it's not too high up, I'm a fan. If it's
me and Marty were drinking one night, and balconies came up because I said, if I'm going to live in an apartment, like, it needs to have a balcony. And he just immediately, just no hesitation, he was like, balconies, I don't trust them. I had to bring it up on RHR at some point, and I never did. So that's what that was the culmination of that question.
Well, yeah, my sister and brother-in-law, they lived in Long Island City. They lived high up, like on the 40th floor, one of those high rises, and they had a balcony. And I literally, one of them was faint going out on it because it was way too high up. I don't like heights, which is weird. I don't like. I actually think I could jump out of a plane and go like parachuting. Like if I'm up that high and don't have like a parachute on my back, I get very freaked out. The balcony at Bitcoin Park's dope. I like that balcony a lot.
A second floor.
Yeah.
Because if you fall, you survive.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great balcony.
I love balconies. Huge balcony maximalist.
Yeah.
One of the coolest balconies balconies I ever saw was at Chain Code's offices in New York. We did one of our workshops there when we were doing in-person workshops in New York.
Another balcony I'm not a fan of, too high up.
That one was dope balcony.
Yeah.
View of the Empire State Building all the way up, 50 stories up or something like that.
Yeah, it's a sick office. Shout out to the Chain Code team.
Ty agrees with me. Chain Code balcony is sick.
Weren't they in the news this week? Didn't they do something?
Carla
Kirk Cohen is back at Chain Code. That's what happened.
Oh, nice. She's a legend.
Yeah. Off list update there. Moving down the list, Hoseki donates $25,000 to the Bitcoin Policy Institute.
Love to see it.
Yeah. Individually, I like the guys at the Bitcoin Policy Institute, but I don't know.
I still need to get you on a call with Zell.
I think they'd be
in person.
Own the frame. Stop catering. That's
you should just have a conversation. It'll be healthy.
Okay.
Look, I think I think it's important as an American that we have actual Bitcoiners talking to these policy people, so that hopefully we can just skip the process of horrible overbearing regulation in America that holds back our country and holds back our people. As a Bitcoiner, I would say let's build the tools that they can't do shit about. But particularly for American-based companies, I mean, they should be supporting initiatives like this. Like, we should see more companies support it, because at the end of the day, if there's overbearing American regulation, it's not going to fuck over Bitcoin. It's not going to fuck over someone who's got actually good OPSEC and is not public about being a Bitcoiner. But it will fuck over American-based companies that have predominantly American-based consumers. And it's good to see a small startup that hasn't even launched yet is supporting this initiative, when a lot of the incumbents would rather fund policy institutes that help them dump securities on retail rather than focus on user privacy, user sovereignty, using your own node, holding your own keys, being able to mine whatever fucking energy source you want to mine. Like, these guys are focused on the real true issues, while most of the policy orgs are just completely, I don't even know what,
spread thin, distracted.
The priorities there are just not as focused.
Yeah, agree there. Speaking of Hoseki, though, if you haven't caught Sam Abbasi's presentation from Riga, from the Baltic Honey Badger Conference, go watch it. It was really powerful. Really excited for what they're building.
Yeah, no, Hoseki's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Ergo.
Basically what Hoseki does is they operate as an entity that can help you prove your reserves of Bitcoin. So, like, from a consumer perspective, you go to the bank, you ask for a mortgage. Yes, Bitcoin inherently allows you to sign a message. You can sign a message that says, I have this much Bitcoin, give me a loan. Most bankers will laugh at you and treat you like a destitute person that has no money whatsoever.
I've tried to do this before with landlords.
Yeah, but with Hoseki will, without taking custody of your funds, will certify that you have those funds, and the banker will get like a nice little paper that they're used to that says, Marty has this much funds held in Bitcoin that he has proven control over and has access to without giving up custody. So it could be very useful for Bitcoiners that are looking for loans, that are looking for mortgages, which is a type of loan, that are looking for getting approved for a rental, different things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very useful once it's live, because, again, I was in Brooklyn, like, look, it's there. I have it. Oh, yeah, not good enough.
They look at you like you're a crazy person.
Yeah. good friend of the show, Ergo BTC, got a piece on Bitcoin privacy in Unredacted Magazine, which is a magazine dedicated to privacy, security, and OSINT. What does OSINT stand for?
Operational Security Intelligence.
Open source intelligence.
Open source intelligence.
Open source intelligence.
Wow, I should have known that. This is awesome. Unredacted Magazine is Michael Basil's baby of Intel Techniques. He has a lot of privacy focused content, and this magazine is available for free, released quarterly. They have the quality is just so nice. It's just clean. It's super clean, and shout out to Ergo for getting in there, and his writing was great as usual.
Well, this is issue number 4, and this was a Bitcoin dedicated issue, Bitcoin special.
Oh, yeah, but this is the only piece that's Bitcoin focused, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it is confusing.
Ergo is the Bitcoin special.
Yeah. Ergo is the Bitcoin special. From the editor, too. What did he say? Let's see if he says anything about Bitcoin. Not Bitcoin. No. Moving along. The feds. Was it the FBI? Yeah, this was the FBI. This is so fucked, dude.
Yeah, the Fed. That's why I wrote Feds seize.
Yeah, the FBI seized $86 million held in safety deposit boxes in Beverly. Safe deposit boxes in Beverly Hills. And the way in which they did this, they essentially lied to the judge to get the warrant to go look in these boxes in the first place, correct?
Yeah. Well, this happened. When did this happen? Like a year ago? Year and a half ago? This is just more details released based on the court case that a bunch of the owners of the safe deposit boxes have because all their money was seized.
$86 million bucks.
Like people's documents were scanned and taken, and like their belongings were taken. And this is another perfect example that safe deposit boxes
shit coins.
Yeah, not only can you get denied access to them, but also, governments can go in and seize them. And in this case, it was a safe deposit box store, not a bank. And the FBI basically said, like, if you're going to trust this instead of a bank, like, you're obviously implicit in criminal activity, which is quite the reach. And they just walked in and seized everything.
Yeah. Private keys over safe deposit boxes.
BTC Pins nailed it. It was, it was a strip mall with a no KYC safe deposit box place.
Yeah.
But still, Americans are protected from unwarranted search and seizure under the Fourth Amendment.
Unreasonable.
Yeah, fair enough.
Privacy isn't a crime. Like it's crazy. And a strip mall safe deposit box place that isn't KYC users. Like, why is that bad? Why is it bad to have privacy? It's not bad. But again, this highlights the value prop of Bitcoin. It's much easier to secure $86 million using private public key cryptography, and it's much harder.
In there, it would get taken. So don't put
your seed in a safe deposit box. But
unless it's multi-sig, but there's different trade-offs.
Yeah, but again, it's not impossible to seize private keys or the feds to find you in possession of a wallet that they then tried to get you to send Bitcoin off of. But it's significantly harder than walking into a strip mall safe deposit box warehouse and just getting the owner to give you the keys to open the door. Not impossible to seize Bitcoin, but significantly harder.
I mean, I don't think they gave him the key. I think they drilled the locks.
Oh, they did? Based owner.
The way safe deposit boxes work is like the bank has one key and you have one key. But then the boxes can be drilled at any moment.
Yeah. I mean, if they had the drill, that means the owner was like, I'm not giving you the keys. So good on him.
Well, no, because you need both keys.
Oh, you need both.
Because you don't want to have that much trust in the bank as well. The safe deposit owner.
Two
Netflix company.
2 of 2 meat space multisig.
That just gets defeated by a drill.
Major Australian internet service provider exposes users' details via open API.
Fucked up. 11 million users. This is the second largest internet provider, ISP, in Australia. Australia requires ISPs to collect KYC information on their users, intimate private information, driver's license numbers, passport numbers. And this company fucked up and put it on their open API, and someone scraped it and took it and put up a ransom for $1 million in Monero. Then leaked 10,000 user entries and said they were going to keep leaking it until the ransom was paid. And then when it wasn't, and then after like a day or two, they like released a thing. They're like, sorry. We deleted all the data. Like, we're not going to do this anymore. So they're probably feeling the heat. But the point is that trusted third parties are security holes. Regulations that require companies to take intimate financial information, intimate information in general that they cannot store securely, is a massive security risk for the country as a whole and should be frowned upon and pushed back on. And this is just another example of the fact that we're going to see increasingly worse data leaks, and more people are going to get burned until we learn our lesson here as a society.
I mean, how many of these do we have to talk about on the show?
We're going to talk about so many. We're just getting started, Marty. We haven't hit
5 years in, and we're just, or 4 years in, and we're just getting started. Hey, this may be our 4-year anniversary week.
No.
Did you get me anything?
Did you get me anything?
I did, actually.
No, I think, didn't we? We started earlier than this. We're past 4 years.
Let me go.
Didn't we start late August?
I thought we started late September. That might be TFTC.
Well, the first step of getting you an anniversary present is remembering our anniversary, and it seems like neither of us have done that.
Oh, I'm going to look this up. While I do that, we already mentioned the BlackRock thing. That's it for the list.
Freaks, if you know when our anniversary is, let us know in the live chat.
Yeah, we should know this. Let me see. That's going to take too long. We've been doing this for way too long. Actually, it shouldn't.
What?
Shouldn't take that long.
But we're on a new feed. If you scroll to the bottom,
I'm on TFTC.
It was like episode 27 or something like that, right?
Yeah, we're getting through it. We're gonna figure out our anniversary date here. So, and now I'm like seeing like people I've interviewed in the past, and like having a lot of like, I should have had that person on. All right, we started this in 2018. All right, I'm at 2019. Okay, here we go. HodlHodl recap. Yeah, we missed our anniversary.
When was it? Was I right?
August 22nd.
Nailed it.
2018.
Nailed it.
August 22nd, 8/22.
Dude, we're at
4 years and a month.
49 months. Impressive.
49 months.
Every week.
Except for that 1 week.
That was right in the beginning. I need a reminder.
49 months.
That was like week 20 or something.
All right. All right. Now I have to get, not only do I have to get you a gift, but a late gift. Where do I send it?
I got you a gift. I'm just waiting to give it to you.
Yeah, we're going to see each other next week too. All right. What's the 4 year? I mean, the first anniversary, you usually like do written notes. Year 2 is like leather. I think year 4 might be gold. Am I going to buy some gold?
It's been depressed. The price is low. It's not performing as expected.
Apparently the week we missed was Crypto Clydesdale's worst week of his life, so we can't miss it moving forward. Speaking of which, we should announce now, so we don't have anybody hassling us next week. We're going to record on Friday next week.
Friday morning
Next week. Should we riff?
What do you want to talk about? We've only been going on for 2.5 hours right now.
Yeah, looping back to the beginning of the conversation, something like $20 trillion almost of total market capitalization in U.S. equities and fixed income has been wiped off the map.
Oh yeah, show the chart. The chart's crazy. A lot of crazy charts right now.
Yeah, here, do you have that?
The average
pull that up.
Is fucking crazy chart too, where it's like goes down to the bottom and then just pops the fuck up.
Well, this is another indication that this might be it. Because if you look at 08, this is making 08 look like a fucking kindergarten party. Obviously,
yeah, I mean, 08 should be all these charts. Like obviously you're gonna, the first comparison you're gonna think of is to look back at 08.
Yeah,
that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's basically, in layman's terms, that's stocks and bonds, right?
Yeah, U.S. stocks and bonds, and it's down close to $19 trillion, which I think was like our annual GDP last year.
It doesn't feel like we're like bottomed on the macro side.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
It feels like we're just getting started. So,
are we bottomed on Bitcoin though? Let's end on a positive note. Come on, give us a 200K prediction.
Well, did you see my tweet where I like laid out like big picture what I expected to happen? Someone asked for a time frame and I just responded back, definitely not by conference day.
Yes, I did see that. I like that tweet. No, but I mean,
I'm gonna keep from now on. My predictions are going to be as vague as possible.
Let's pull up that tweet because that was a really good tweet. I retweeted that tweet. I mean, you basically explain the dollar milkshake into hyper Bitcoinization theory in a very succinct tweet.
Someone actually nailed it in the responses. It's Mandibles, then Bitcoin Standard.
That's a good back-to-back. Or Mandibles isn't good. But
did you find the tweet?
I did. I'm putting it in Slack
now. But for the Bitcoin price, who the fuck knows? A lot of people calling for 12K and 7K and shit.
Still.
Which I love to see it.
Well, actually, now that you say that, that's something we should pull up. Earlier this week, this was really astonishing to see.
I'd be very surprised if we went under 15K or whatever.
I would too. And this next chart that we're going to pull up.
The important thing is that I know I will be solvent if we go all the way down to fucking under $1,000. That's the stay humble part.
Yes.
But I'd be very surprised if we fell below that.
So we have Matt's tweet for anybody at home who can't see the tweet because you're listening via Podcasting 2.0 app. Hopefully, thank you for the value. Hope you're getting value out of the show. USD sucks air out of the room. Then we have a global currency collapse. Then some countries move to USD while others move to commodity-backed currencies and metals. Then the US dollar collapses. Then new monies required. Require too much trust. Then Bitcoin becomes global reserve currency and base of an open financial network. I can see that timeline playing out.
Who knows how long it takes?
But this,
where I look at it from my point of view,
this chart I just put in Slack. Logan, pull this up.
That's 0 characters remaining on that tweet. If you're wondering about specific wording, I had to get it into the.
So look at this. This is the trading value as measured in U.S. dollars of the Great British Pound to Bitcoin price earlier this week when the pound was collapsing Friday and into Monday. The volume, the Bitcoin trading volume in the UK went parabolic. This is very interesting to see that people were reacting almost immediately to the Great British Pound devaluing significantly by funneling into Bitcoin. So maybe there is more recognition of Bitcoin as a risk-off hedge against currency collapse than, because it reached almost $1 billion in volume when it averages below 100 million.
an American, it's very easy to access dollars, right? But if you're in another country and you're an average person, and like I said this on my take on the Druckenmiller Joe clip interview is that like a lot of like, you know, quote unquote finance professionals, like they are going to think of some like intricate financial scheme about how they can, you know, both survive the chaos and potentially thrive the chaos. But average person, especially not in America, does not have access to the same things, and or does not have any kind of understanding, nor should they, of how any of these bullshit financial schemes work. But they have access to Bitcoin. In America, we could at least, while this dollar pump phase is happening, you can hold dollars relatively easily. But if you're in Kenya, or if you're even if you're in the UK, it's much harder to. So I 100% see that. I 100% see that as a massive value prop of Bitcoin, is that it's relatively easy to access around the world by anyone at any time, and they can easily take self-custody of it and hold it themselves without counterparty risk.
Yeah. What's particularly interesting about this chart, so this chart goes back to December 2020, and if you look, the second biggest spike is in the middle towards the end of 2021. We were pumping towards 69,420. And this pump, or this volume pump that we saw on Monday, dwarfs that, almost doubled it, which is interesting. That's actually what you want to see. People are buying it as a hedge against the collapse of their currency instead of piling into a trade that's crushing it. So they were you could read this chart one way. This volume pump was driven more by the access to the utility the network provides than chasing the price gains that people were probably chasing in 2021 when we had a pump, the second largest pump on this chart.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to mention is like whenever there's volatility, we're going to see volumes increase across the board.
Well, that's the thing. There was relatively small Bitcoin volatility.
I mean, priced in pounds is very big volatility.
Yes, that's a good point.
Like if you're a trader, if you're a British trader and you were watching the pound Bitcoin chart, it was pumping like crazy, right?
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they're chasing pound gains. Pound taking a pounding this week.
What I would like to, can we pull up, if we're going to still riff, let's pull up useful tulips. Usefultulips.org.
What are we looking for here? Has Matt been updating this?
I mean, because that one is like actual peer-to-peer trades in the developing world. It's like it pretty much excludes trader types, right?
Yeah, it has
we
been
have
updated.
We have the smaller Pentagon 723 saying nobody in the UK is trading in pounds. Fair enough. I have no idea.
Here, Logan. Here's
he says.
Logan. I just put the page to go to on. It doesn't look like the P2P. Well, that's local Bitcoin. So let me go on Paxful. It's probably got more signal.
Doesn't he have like the time lapse?
Logan, I just sent another one. Yeah. So yeah, it does seem like Paxful's Sub-Saharan Africa is blowing up.
Isn't there a time one?
Go down to the bar charts. Yeah, up there, right up there. Down.
Yes, that's the real chart.
Up here. Go to that section. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. But the big one. Yeah, that's the combined one. Yeah, see, up and to the right.
Yeah. And it's important when you're taking these peer-to-peer exchange volumes into consideration, when you should really view these, like, so this volume is relatively low, US dollar equivalents, $50 million, but it is significantly increased over time. But with these peer-to-peer exchanges, the user journey is usually they'll go find somebody who's selling Bitcoin on one of the peer-to-peer exchanges, do a trade or two with them, get comfortable with them, and then they'll move that trade moving forward offline to like a Telegram or Signal chat. So
what Marty's trying to say is the real number's higher.
Yeah, much higher.
It's just like if you find an Airbnb, like you just talk to the owner directly instead of giving Airbnb 30% cut for future transactions.
Yeah. So at least first, second touches are increasing on these peer-to-peer exchanges. And again, if you go down a little bit to that sub-Saharan Africa chart, that's a crazy chart.
It's interesting that British people allegedly, according to our comments, do not trade in pounds because, you know, I've started watching the price in pounds now because it just makes me feel better. Looks like it's higher.
Should we just go travel the globe?
I only price Bitcoin in Zimbabwe dollars during bear markets.
Yeah, but like as Americans, like should we be going on more global trips?
Did you see someone post it? I think it was from Eurotrip.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, $1.27. What can we do with this?
That's a classic movie.
It really is. Some incest in that movie. That was a little weird. And they take absinthe and they make out with each other.
Yeah, but they like didn't feel good about it, right?
No, yeah. Wasn't it's not like
I haven't seen that movie in like a decade or something.
Yeah, it's not like Game of Thrones. Overt incest. Intentional.
Anyway, it's been a good rip, Marty.
It has been. Heavy times out there, freaks. Again, back half of the episode we focused on I was very tense in the beginning of the episode talking about those topics because they're very heavy. Things are obviously getting crazy out there. But then we go and we talk about what's being built on Bitcoin, and it's making me extremely bullish.
Hope and optimism.
Yeah. There is, we've said it once, we'll say it again, and it is cliche, but building does happening in the bear markets, and this one is no different.
Super meme worthy, but every meme is based in reality. Every good meme is, not the bad ones.
What's meme worthy?
Bear markets are for building.
Yes. We builders.
It's not a bear market, it's a build market. Or whatever. I don't know. You hear it every bear market. It's true though.
It is.
It's just a little bit cringe and corny when people say it out loud.
Yeah. There's building happening in the bear market. Let's go build.
Every time it happens. But I will say, we've never had a macro crisis like this since Bitcoin has existed. So this one is a little bit different.
Yes, it is.
And it's extra good to see so many strong teams working in Bitcoin and towards a Bitcoin standard. It gives me hope.
It does. When you juxtapose all the strong men and women in Bitcoin with like the world leaders that are flinging shit at each other right now, it's actually like, yeah, which side do you want to sit on? President Biden doesn't even know where the fuck he is. Vladimir Putin's poisoning people. Xi Jinping is just surveilling everybody. Ursula von der Leyen. She's telling you you're going to have to be cold. You're going to have to suffer this winter. Christine Lagarde. Ursula von der Leyen. Von der Leyen.
What is she, the German?
President? No, she's the president of the EU.
Oh.
Christine Lagarde's. That's another thing we didn't talk about. Like Christine Lagarde's like, we need central banks to anchor us to stability.
I don't know this stuff happens unless you tell me.
Yeah, that happened earlier this week. Christine Lagarde was trying to put forward the case that central banks are essential to stability in the world. They're an anchor. They are an anchor tied to the feet of the global economy and drowning it at the bottom of an ocean. Then you had Jerome Powell come out and say, yeah, we could work on a CBDC, but it won't provide you any privacy. Out and about. Or you pick Bitcoin. We have people building cool stuff. We pal around. We had the cum rocket button. We got mattress talk. We got whiskey talk. Talking about like really cool things going on in the privacy and Bitcoin space. Who do you want to hang out with? Ursula? Christine? J-Pal? Xi Jinping? Vladimir Putin? You want to hang out with us? I think the option's pretty simple.
Damn right. I love you, freaks, and I love you, Marty. Logan, thanks for joining us. Look forward to a fruitful future for this new team, and stay humble, stack sets.
Peace and love, freaks. The key.